100,000 cold cases in the United States. They won't be solved with CODIS alone.
Back in December of 1990, the couple that was walking along a dirt road here in McDonald County called Hospitality, they were walking along, they were a younger couple, saw what they believed to be a bone or something and seen a skull from the road in this grass. It wasn't real tall, it was in the wintertime, it was December. They noticed it, went down, and from what I understand, they called the sheriff's office, and the sheriff and some deputies and stuff responded out. From the pictures I've seen and from the reports I've read, there was a little bit of soft tissue still in the jeans, but a lot of the other stuff, the bones were scattered from varmints and stuff that it decomposed that much. There were bindings around the feet area, several different ones, and from cords and ropes and stuff like that. Either someone didn't know what they were doing or they were real scared about her getting away. I'm not sure exactly how long it took Sheriff Keeling and them to go through all the tips they got back in 1990. I'm sure probably a year or so. And of course they did an autopsy and was unable to determine anything there. And then as it progressed, then they went through the leads, and the Highway Patrol helped. The different agencies around, they looked for, from what I understand from reading the reports, they looked for any missing persons reports in our area, and then it just expanded out, nationwide. Eventually, the county coroner took possession of Grace, at the time called her Jane Doe, and ended up taking her to an anthropologist and stuff at University of Missouri, where they did a dental impressions and kind of to see if maybe they can identify her through dental, because from what I understand, there was a lot of orthodontist type work, more than a normal person would have around here in rural McDonald County in 1990. There was a DNA actually from Grace placed with the University of North Texas, which is the Center for Human Remains. So we had a DNA profile of Grace that was in the system. And if anybody would have matched that on that, then we would have got a hit. Lori Howard is the one that kind of started it really getting hot back in 2000, I think around 8. She's a detective here, and she got real interested in it. And she did redid the using, if I'm correct, using photographs and stuff from the skull. They were able to try to recreate what she may have looked like at the time. And Lori did a lot of legwork on that, stuff like that. And then when I became sheriff in 2013, I kind of got really interested in it, reading through the book, reading through the notes from the detectives, the officers. I mean, back in 1990, there wasn't a whole lot of DNA stuff. So it was just, the crime scene stuff, from what I understand from talking to the people that were out there, the photos were taken by the local newspaper because they had the best camera.
This case was actually brought to me by a case manager that we have here at Othram, and she had come across this case.
They reached out to me asking, hey, we got this process. Would you be willing to take one of the bones, let us see if we can extract some better or more DNA? We've had a couple of times over the last years that people have tried, but it's so degraded that it wasn't worth anything or couldn't get anything to it. So it was like, well, it can't hurt anything.
Michael and I started discussing the case that he had, what DNA evidence was available for analysis. He explained to me that they did have skeletal remains available. We looked at some of those preliminary reports based on previous lab work and made the determination that this would be a really good case for Othram to potentially help with.
We're a smaller county. We don't have the funds to. They're like, we'll do this project, we'll do different things to help, GoFundMe or whatever. And so they actually, stepped up and, told me that. It's like, well, let's do it.
We posted this story on DNAsolves.com. Shawna had her own page dedicated to her case. And it's really great. Michael at McDonald, kudos to them. He and his agency had never done this type of testing, but they were all for trying anything new. They didn't have a budget for this type of testing, but they were able to get some funds allocated to help with the testing, to give it momentum towards being fully funded, via, the folks that follow the work we do online, people that were willing just to share the story in their network, post it, upload their DNA to help solve law enforcement cases. So there was just this whole totality of law enforcement agency, lab, and just everyday people that were working for a common good goal to see this woman get identified.
And we got lucky with University Southeast Missouri State, and them being able to, that we could, talk to them and said, hey, when they called up, said, hey, well, we'll help fund it if we can get our anthropologist students to be able to look over the bones and stuff. And I was like, yeah, let's, if we got some kids that want to learn, they'll help us, estimate the age and stuff like that. They'll do their thing. We'll get the DNA done. It's all going to be, everybody gets something out of it. And it worked out real well.
It was a pretty straightforward case from a lab work component. Again, it was pretty degraded and contaminated remains that probably wouldn't have worked in a traditional sense or on a microarray. But we didn't have too much trouble cleaning it up and getting it to a place where we thought it would be able to be sequenced fully and look really good for a DNA profile. We had the DNA profile completed and we started doing records research. We uploaded it to a couple databases, and we discovered some names that we thought it'd be useful for Michael Hall to reach out to.
I got the call that, hey, we've got a possibility. We're going to send you some names. It's possibly in this family tree, and it's going to be up to law enforcement to go from there.
He had conversations with those folks. I think the second person he called ended up being who we were looking for, Shawna, her half-sister.
A body that's been unidentified for the last 30 years in McDonald County now has a name. It's Shawna Beth Garber. Police say they found her body badly decomposed on December 2nd, 1990. She had been hog-tied and dumped behind a farmhouse. The detective at the time named her Grace Doe, saying it was only by the grace of God that the young woman's identity would be found.
It was heartbreaking to have to tell the family, but it's also a relief that we knew who she was. We've got a family now that will take care of her, and they've got some closure also, because they didn't know what happened to her after she became an adult either.
Lieutenant Hall says there have been no leads yet as to who did this to her, leaving investigators to piece together the years leading up to her death in 1990 and exactly how she ended up in McDonald County. Lieutenant Hall says they're interested in talking with people in the Iola area, Garnett, and Topeka, and anywhere else where someone might have information about Shawna Beth Garber to help with their investigation.
I really do think it's solvable, and it's just trying to track down the people that knew her back then, or that knew, a neighbor that saw her, or that saw something, or knew, hey, her boyfriend was so-and-so, or, this is who she was last seen with, and going from there.